What is up, guys? It is AJ from MMA Experts, and this is the Dana White's Contender Series results and what I believe should be next for the contract winners. Let's get into the first fight of the night. Kyle Driscoll defeats Dinis Paiva by a decision, 29-28. Was a good fight. Kind of what I expected. A lot of grappling exchanges from Driscoll. He looked really good in the first two rounds, landed some good shots on the feet. I mean, he's really a guy that has a lot of potential and upside, and I believe he's definitely going to eventually be in the UFC, training at the elite level gym, aka. And Paiva, no joke. I believe Paiva's gonna definitely get a call back to Contender Series, maybe even faster than the man who beat him ends up getting a call back. Round three, Paiva lands some big strikes. Has Driscoll hurt, and nowhere near like a complete finish, but he did drop him. He did show a ton of heart. And Dinis Paiva coming up from 135 to fight at 145, he looked pretty damn good, and I believe he'll definitely get a call to fight at 135 pounds. I think he's a very exciting guy and could potentially be in the UFC in these next couple years because his opponent Driscoll was a big man. Driscoll actually said after the fight he believes he might go up to 155 because the weight cut gassed him out too much. So you're fighting a significantly bigger guy, and Paiva still puts up a fight. Really skilled guy. Congrats for the winner, Kyle Driscoll. Unfortunately, no contract. I didn't feel he deserved one either, but I definitely believe he will eventually earn his way into the UFC, as I think that Paiva has high potential of doing as well. Now, next fight of the night. Danyelle Wolf takes on Taneisha Tennant. Very competitive fight, back and forth. It could have gone either way. A lot of people online are saying that they think Tennant win. Totally understand that. It was really a toss-up. I do think that the striking, outlanding your opponent counts towards something. We saw Michelle Waterson, versus Angela Hill some rounds. There's some outstriking there. Still, Angela Hill loses that fight by decision. But at the end of the day, that's a different fight. Besides the point, they award Wolf the win. I believe it was because the guillotine attempt. The judges saw that. And granted, yeah, there's probably a bit of maybe bias, potentially, because she's Danyelle Wolf, a high-level amateur boxer, taking on Tanisha Tennant, who's unknown relatively, even though she's 5-0 as an MMA fighter and also undefeated as an amateur with a ton of skill. And we saw that. She gave Danyelle Wolf a very tough fight. Danyelle Wolf had no easy debut. She wins a unanimous decision. What's next for her? Who do you give her inside of the UFC? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think that is a very tricky thing. Like, who is the opponent for her? Because you look at the featherweight division. I'm going to actually pull it up for you guys real quick. Let me just pull it up on my computer here. The featherweight division for women's is absolutely thin, and you're going elite level in one fight. If you look here, I mean, Nunes is number one, and number three is Megan Anderson, and there's only 5 fighters here. Also, Leah Letson. I don't really think that any of these girls are next for her. I think the UFC brings somebody in from elsewhere, but because we're going to talk about it, I'm going to give a hypothetical. I'm going to go all the way to the back of the bantamweight rankings, all the way at the bottom, Duda Santana. I think that's the fight. If you have to give her a girl that's already contracted by the UFC, I'm giving her the 3-1 Duda Santana. I think it's a winnable fight. I think it's a competitive matchup. We can click on Santana's name. You guys can get a little insight on her real quick. Duda is 5'7", 135-pound girl. If she moves up to 145, hey, maybe that's a competitive fight. Not super active. Had 3 fights in 2017, just one in 2019, and it's a loss. Hasn't fought since then. I kind of think that's an interesting fight and a high possibility that they'll actually end up giving that fight to her. I think it definitely is actually a chance this happens if they don't give her a girl outside of the octagon. But now let's pull up the next fight of the night. All right. Korey Kuppe and Michael Lombardo. Lombardo gets a decision win, competitive, 29-28. He didn't really go for the kill here, and unfortunately doesn't get the contracts. Kind of got reamed by Bisping and Dana White about that. Granted, he still has the skills to be UFC caliber, but didn't really show it there. He got a decision. I knew it'd be a fairly competitive fight. Kuppe put up a tough fight, but I mean, wasn't at the level. Lombardo kind of held on top. Didn't do anything crazy. Got out of some submission attempts, but not the most impressive performance. Didn't earn a contract. I wouldn't have signed him either, but better luck next time. I do believe Lombardo should continue fighting, and maybe he finds himself in the UFC eventually, or even Bellator or PFL. There's other avenues outside of just the UFC for him, and he could potentially be a name in another MMA league. But now let's move up to the absolute fight of the night, co-main event of the evening. You have Muhammad John Naimov versus Collin Anglin. What a performance for Collin Anglin. First round, Naimov hitting with some good shots, ripping the leg kick. Illegal knee, maybe illegal knee. But then he comes back, wins round 2, almost has Muhammad Naimov unconscious, really has him hurt on his feet. Round 3, Naimov has the heart of a lion, and Collin Anglin gets a decision win here, 29-27, 29-27, and 29-28. Wow. He was the biggest underdog on the card. He came out and gave a hell of a fight. I said in the prediction I thought he was a tough guy. I thought that he would give a competitive fight, but I still really felt Naimov would get it done. He proved me wrong. Congratulations to Collin Anglin, who earns a contract. And Muhammad Naimov with a loss is still very impressive, and I think he has upside. I think we could see Muhammad Naimov inside of the octagon as well. Eventually, even Dana White himself said it's, possible that if there's somebody that they need in the future, they'll call Muhammad Naimov, which was really nice to hear because, he is an absolute savage of a fighter. He's a guy that gets in there, he gets down, and he goes for the kill. And that's something that I really feel is held with high value on the Contender series, and I think he'll definitely get a call back sometime within the next year or so, without a doubt. Maybe next season, or maybe he gets a call to the actual UFC sometime in the future. But I do want to pull up the rankings of the featherweight division for you guys. Let me quickly get them here. And we'll talk about a possible UFC debut for Collin Anglin. Very stacked division. No joke at 145, but I think Collin Anglin has some ability. I think he could be good here. I'm going to go way down, and we're going to look around here. Do you want to give him a guy that's 0-1 in the octagon? Do you want to give him a guy that's yet to debut? Really is going to be up to the UFC exactly what they're thinking. I kind of like the idea of somebody who's fought in the UFC prior to this, maybe on their way out of the UFC, who hasn't looked that great. Maybe we give him a guy like Elon Cruz. He lost to Spike Carlisle by TKO. Maybe that's the fighter. Maybe you give him Austin Springer, who recently took a short notice fight against Alex Caceres, and you test him there. Or who knows? Maybe they move him up higher and give him a much tougher test than I'm expecting them to give him. But I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of take it easy on him and give him somebody less. Maybe Jordan Griffin here. That's another name that I could think if they're going to give him a little bit of a bigger test inside of the UFC's featherweight division. So many guys at featherweight, I really can't give you guys an exact name. It could be anybody inside the back end of the top, top, how many fighters are here? Top 76. Maybe it's 50 and below. Any of these guys are possibilities for him. And I think he could do really well against a lot of guys here at featherweight. I think there's a ton of ability and a big upside. I'm very excited to see Collin Anglin fight in the UFC. Muhammad Naimov, I believe he'll eventually be in the octagon, as I said, just not yet. This wasn't his time yet. But now let's get to the main event of the evening. Jordan Williams defeats Gregory Rodrigues. Absolutely impressive. I honestly am super happy for the kid. He deserved it. He really came in there and gave a hell of a performance. First round knockout victory. What is next for him after the win here? Sorry guys, I had to adjust the hat. Was looking a little bit off. But the win here for Jordan Williams. I think Jordan Williams is a guy with a big upside, not cutting any weight, so he's going to have the gas tank, most likely, as long as he's training hard. He's not cutting weight, as I mentioned. He's 181 pounds at middleweight. I do think he should try to maybe put on 2-3 pounds of muscle, be like 184, 185, and he'll do a bit better. I understand not wanting to cut weight to 170, but there are some monsters when you get to that middleweight weight class. There's a lot of big guys. Now, what would be next for him in a UFC debut? I'll pull up this middleweight division real quick, and we'll talk about some hypothetical matchups for him. All right. Definitely not Israel Adesanya just yet. But he does have the potential to be a guy at middleweight that could win some serious fights. I really believe it. I really like the Maki Pitolo fight. I think that Maki Pitolo is a tough guy and is a really good test for him, and a guy that's going to stand and trade. I think he actually can knock Maki Pitolo out. I'm riding with Maki Pitolo, man. I think that's the fight for him. He's 1-3 in the octagon, 2-fight losing streak, Darren Stewart and Impa Kasinge. I'm picking Maki Pitolo versus Jordan Williams. That's the debut for him. If I'm the UFC, I'm picking that one, Maki Pitolo. I want to see it. I'm really curious to see that matchup, and I think Jordan Williams actually gets the win there. I think it's a very exciting matchup. But all right, guys, that is pretty much it for this video. This was Dana White's Contender Series Week 7. Unfortunately, they're not going to be on for about a month or so while the UFC's at Fight Island, so we won't have the Contender Series content until they are back from them. But at the end of the day, absolutely awesome card. Can't wait for the next one. I love covering the Contender Series. I love watching it. It's truly become a staple show for the UFC, kind of replacing the Ultimate Fighter. Maybe they bring Tough back, but there's definitely going to need to be more incentive. I think if they're doing Tough again, you can't give a $100,000 contract. You got to give a $100,000 bonus and maybe a 3-fight contract. But all right, guys, that's it for this video. Like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. Also, guys, follow my social media, Instagram, Twitter, and I'll